Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome and welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Tuesday, July 21st. Thank you for joining us once again for our month of life changes and reprioritizing. Annette, did you check in to make sure you have the right support in your life?
I did check in. I didn't always have the right support or even support, but I do now. I needed outside support. I had family members that were always supportive. I had friends, but I didn't have that professional support that I think is necessary. I don't want everyone to think that they must go out and find a counselor or coach. But for me, I am much better off with having that I meet monthly with my support person. I'm much better off now than I was when I didn't have her in my life.
I totally agree. I didn't always seek out the professional support. I was always working on something, but getting the professional support has made a huge difference in my life. And Annette always can tell. It's like, do you need to go talk to the person who supports you? And I say, yeah, I'm feeling that too.
I didn't want to say that, but now that you brought it up, I will say...
Opened that door myself.
You did. I will say I literally can tell. Like, you haven't seen your therapist for about a month now because she's been out of town. And I can tell very subtly. Like, if somebody didn't know you well, they couldn't tell. And I wanted to share this, but I didn't know. But now that you opened the door, as you say, that's why it's so important. Like, you're still showing up and you're showing up well, but I can tell you're coming from a different place. Like, you don't have the support that you need.
I can tell too. So I look forward to when she returns home.
Okay, now we're really on the reprioritizing path. We went through the last 2 weeks getting ready. Yesterday, we made sure everybody has support. So you're all going to go out and seek support that you need. Our first area is kind of a dual area of reprioritizing. It's about our bodies and our home. Now, we really wanted to be specific here about life changes and reprioritizing. And they go together because if your home is cluttered and a mess, we're not going to go into judgment about that, but you might have to do some decluttering so that you can support your body the way you need to. One fact of life is change. We all know that. We've covered that. That also applies to our bodies. Our bodies change. And sometimes they change for what we would say the better, and sometimes they don't. I am going to be 65 years old in October. And this is the first birthday that I'm dreading. And I'm not dreading it because of some way that I feel. I'm dreading it because society is looking at me in a different way. If you listen closely, like advertisements for medications, they will say, oh, if you're 65 or older, you might want to do this. Or this is not recommended for people 65 and older. I am finding that so annoying. And yet, this is me not embracing the life change. This is me fighting it. Now, I also don't want to start acting any different just because I happen to have a different number behind my name. But this is what we're talking about. So when we have changes, we're not really actually choosing all of these changes. Some of it just happens to us. Our face doesn't look as young. Our body doesn't look as young. You know, that phrase where it was kind of a bad saying, but people would say, like, you have to lean into it. Maybe they still say it, but
They do. They still say that.
all of a sudden, everybody was leaning into stuff.
That was more popular, like in the early aughts or something like that. I remember She worked at Facebook.
Yes, she did.
I know. Yeah, you know the book I'm talking about, and it's
I
Lean
do.
In, and everyone was leaning in.
Everyone was leaning in, and I don't know if everybody's still leaning in, but I would say
You're leaning in, though.
I'm going to lean in to what society says about 65 years olds in the sense that I'm just going to let them say it, but I'm also going to really try not to fight the changes that I see in my body and in my stamina, let's say, or in my energy level. And this is tricky though. And this is why I wanted to share this first off when we're thinking about reprioritizing and thinking about the area of our body in our home. It's also important that we don't buy what other people are selling about us if it doesn't apply. So, okay, 65 years old, you have to do this, you have to sign up for Medicare, you have to do all these things. I'm willing to do that, but I don't want to start looking at myself as anything other than what I am. So when I think about reprioritizing, I'm thinking about I typically have been aware of like skincare products for your age or activities for different ages. I'm not going to place as much importance on what I hear about 65-year-olds as I normally do. That's how I'm going to reprioritize. I'm going to reprioritize really looking within and noticing and acknowledging and having that self-awareness. What do I feel like? What is important to me? That's how I'm reprioritizing. Now, if you're at a different age than I am, you're going to have a different method of reprioritizing, but we must prioritize our bodies. And I'm going to add this on at the end. We must reprioritize when it comes to our minds. We can't believe everything that we hear about a certain age, a certain category that we find ourselves in, because then we're not living from this authentic place. And the reprioritizing is, I'm going to check in always.
Let me ask you a question, though. Who's defining whom?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't want what society says about a 65-year-old to define who I am.
I'm glad to hear that because I'm a little worried about that.
Why are you worried about that? I've been telling you I don't like this the whole time.
I think that we can hit a certain age or different ages, and then we start acting what we think that age acts like. I've seen this. Oh, people hit 30. I'm old. Come on, 30 isn't old. I'm almost 40, and I don't feel old. And to be, I'm almost up then over the hill now. And I think when we're living with authenticity, we get to define how we show up in life. And so I do worry. I don't really like the way it's like, oh, you're 65. Now you're old. Now your value has gone down. You should be retiring at 67 or in a couple years. I don't buy into that stuff. We all get to define who we are and how we want to show up.
But that takes acknowledging the life change and reprioritizing, even if the reprioritizing is, I used to care about what everybody else said about this, and now I'm not going to give that as much weight anymore. I'm going to be very diligent about caring for my body, giving my body what it needs, and not worrying about a number. And this is just an example of what reprioritizing could look like. But when we think about our bodies, it could be that we're prioritizing health and food and exercise and letting go of addictions. I mean, it could be that too.
But for today, our intention is, I will care for the body I have today with gratitude and respect. I will care for the body I have today with gratitude and respect. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.